Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is going to be our very first online teaching lesson, and I am so excited to begin. We're going to be starting with place value. This is the unit that I always start with, and it is just a study of what numbers are and what they mean. So today we're going to be talking about two words, place and value, and we're going to be discussing the differences between those two words, and then we're really going to focus in on what the word place means. So let's go ahead and get into it. Our first word is place. A place is where something lives, like you live in a certain place. You live in Pembroke or Parisburg or Narrows or Giles County or in Virginia. I think we have one student who lives in West Virginia. You live in a specific place. This is where you live. It's your home, right? That is the difference between place. And then our second word is value. Value is how much something is worth, okay? So if you look at the number 2 in the number 20, you know that 2 really doesn't mean it's only worth 2. It's worth 2 tens because it's in the tens place. So the value of that 2 is actually much more than 2. It's 20. That's what we're going to be talking about. And that seems a little confusing, but hopefully it'll make more sense once we look at some numbers and really think about it. For example, in second grade, you guys learned the places up to hundreds. We have our ones place, our tens place, and our hundreds place. Our ones place is right here, and we have a 6 there. Our tens place is where our 2 is at, and our hundreds place is where the 4 is at. The 4 is living in the hundreds place. That's where that 4 lives. And it's very important to know that you can only have one number living in each place at a time. I can only have one number in the ones place, one number in the tens place, and one number in the hundreds place. Okay? So that is very important to remember. Now, in third grade, we go all the way up to hundred thousands places. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Don't get freaked out. We're going to totally nail it. It's going to be great, okay? So the 4 here lives in the hundreds place. And because the 4 lives in the hundreds place, its value, or how much it is worth, is much more than 4. It looks like a little 4 to us, but the 4 has a secret. It's actually not worth just 4. It's worth 400 because it lives in the hundreds place. So we've got 100, 200, 300, 400. There's a 4 there, and it lives in the hundreds place. 4 times 100 is 400, or you can count by hundreds. That is so cool because it looks like it's just a little bitty 4, but it has a secret. It's actually worth 400. Now, we're going to focus more on value in a different lesson, but today we're going to be talking mostly about the places. I want to talk about these places. We have 6 different places that we learn in third grade, okay? 6-digit numbers. These numbers are way bigger than anything that you saw in second grade. You might have seen up to the thousands place last year, but this year we are diving straight into the big numbers, and it's going to be okay because I'm going to be here to walk with you through it. The first thing we're going to talk about is our 3 places that you should already know. Our ones place, our tens place, and our hundreds place. Our ones place right here in this number means that we have a 5 there, and it's worth 5 ones. We have a 6 living in the tens place, that's worth 6 tens. We have a 3 living in the hundreds place, that's worth 3 hundreds. Now, this is where things get interesting. When you add a 4th number, a 4th digit here, we have 1, 2, 3 digits, but when you add a 4th digit, we have to add something to kind of separate those numbers, because the bigger the number gets, the harder it is to read. So somebody had this great idea to put a comma there to help us separate those numbers and to help us break it down into smaller parts so that we can say it easier. So when you get to the thousands, you're going to put a comma right in between the hundreds and the thousands. Everything after this comma has the word thousands in it. Look at these places. We've got the thousands place, we've got the 10,000s place, and we've got the 100,000s place. Do you notice that all of those places have one thing in common? What do they have in common? The word thousands. Once you see the comma in third grade, everything after that comma gets the word thousands. Now, in 4th grade, you're going to add a second comma, and that's going to be millions. But we're not worried about that today. We are worried about the thousands place, the 10,000s place, and the 100,000s place. Now, if you look at this place value chart, you might notice a pattern. And I'm going to show you what that pattern is. We've got ones, tens, hundreds. Now, instead of starting at ones, we start at thousands, but the pattern goes thousands, 10,000s, just like over here, 100,000s, just like over here. So we are adding the word thousands after that. Now, they took the word 1,000s off because it could be 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 there. So they just shortened it to thousands place. So we've got the ones, the tens, the hundreds, comma, and the comma is what karate chops the number into 2 parts. The comma does not always come in the middle. Here, it is in the middle because we have 6 numbers. But if you had a 4-digit number, just 2,365, and that 3 and that 4 weren't there, then your comma would still come in between the hundreds and thousands place. We're going to talk more about the comma in a minute. So, it is going to be interesting for us to learn this virtually, but I am so excited, and I think you guys are going to nail it. We're going to play a little game right now, and what I want you to do is I'm going to pause, and when I pause, you are going to try to answer and see if you know what place the digit is in. So I'm going to point at a digit, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to give you a minute, and you're going to try to answer it, okay? We're going to start out easy. We're going to go in order for the first one, and then on the next number, we'll mix it up. All right. For this number, I'm going to read it out loud, is 621, and when I get to the comma, I'm going to say the word thousand, 621,497. So, what place is the 7 in? What place is the 7? I'll give you a hint. It's the very first place. It's the smallest place. Did you answer? If you said ones, you're correct. Now, let's look at the next place over. We have a 9 there. A 9 is living in this place. What comes after the ones? It's a little bit bigger than ones. Not as big as hundreds. What place is the 9 living in? If you said tens, you are correct. Let's look at the 4. The 4. What place is the 4 living in? This is the biggest place that you learned about last year. If you said hundreds, you're right. So far we have ones, tens, hundreds, and then we have our comma, which karate chops, and everything after the comma has the word thousand in it. So what is this 1? What place is this 1 living in? That's right, the thousands place. What place is the 2 living in? This is where it gets tricky. I want you to think about the pattern, though. We have ones, tens, hundreds. So then we have thousands, and the 2 is in the, did you get it? 10,000s. Yes, it's the 10,000s. And then our biggest 1, the big kahuna. He's the one in charge. This is the biggest place. He is the big dog. The biggest place, and it's the longest place too. The words are the longest out of all the words here. This place is the 100,000s place. That's right. So we've got our ones place here. We've got our tens place here. Our hundreds, our comma that karate chops. Everything after the comma has the word thousands in it. So we have the thousands place, the 10,000s place, and then the big kahuna, which is the 100,000s place. If you got all of those correct, give yourself a hand. And if you didn't, guess what? We're going to try again with this number. I'm going to make it a little bit tricky this time and switch up the places, though. I'm going to ask you them out of order. All right. What place is the 3 in? Think about it. It comes right after the comma. Karate chop. If you said thousands, you're correct. Let's see. What place is the 6 in? Ooh, tricked ya. What place is this 6 living in right here? Right after thousands. Think about your pattern. Thousands. It's not the big kahuna, not the biggest one. It's in between thousands and 100,000s. What is it? If you said 10,000s, you are correct. The 6 is in the 10,000s place. What place is the 7 in? This one should be easy. It's the smallest place. The ones place, that's right. What about the zero? What place is the zero living in? The hundreds place. Good job. What about the big kahuna? All the way out of the end. He's the biggest one. 100,000s, great job. And then we have this one right in between the ones and the hundreds. What is the 9 living in? The 9 is living in the tens place. Great job. We're going to try one more number. And I want you to notice something about this number. Look at it for a minute. This number looks a little bit different than the other 2 numbers we just labeled. That's because this is a 5-digit number instead of a 6-digit number. So that means that one of the places is missing. I wonder what place is missing here. Do you think it's going to be the ones place that's missing? No, because every number has a ones place. What about the tens? Is it missing the tens? No. I see the comma, so I know that it's not missing hundreds or thousands. And then after the thousands place comes what again? 10,000s, yeah. So it's missing a number out here. It's missing 100,000s. Is that okay? Yeah, because sometimes you're only going to have 5-digit numbers. But I want you to realize that not always is this last number going to be the 100,000s place. That's why it's always important to start at the beginning and label it ones, tens, hundreds, then after the comma, thousands, 10,000s. Because if you just looked at this number and said, oh yeah, the 2's on the end, so it must be the 100,000s, that would be wrong. Because there's actually not a 6th digit in this number. It's only a 5-digit number. So this only has 5 places. The ones, which is where the 7 is, the tens, which is where the 6 is, the hundreds, which is where the 8 is, the thousands, which is where the 4 is, and the 10,000s, which is where the 2 is. So be very careful when you're labeling these, okay? Let's talk about that comma. Hi-ya! The comma karate chops the number into 2 different pieces, okay? The beginning, this piece over here, is called the ones period, and everything over here is called the thousands period. That's because after the comma, like I've said before, every place has the word thousands in it. We have thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, okay? And this is a 6-digit number, so it is going to go all the way up to 100,000s, all right? And everything over here is not thousands. It's ones, tens, hundreds. Be very careful when you are labeling your place value chart that you recognize that this is the ones, this is the tens, this is the hundreds, and it's going this way. It's going the opposite way of how we read, okay? It's kind of going against what we typically do. We typically start down here when we read, but for math, sometimes the numbers, like the place value chart, is going to start right here and go backwards, okay? That's because 7 is our smallest number, and as we add bigger numbers, the places get bigger as well, all right? So we've got a 7 in the ones. We've got ones place. Why don't you try to help me out here? What place is this again? I can't hear you. The ones, good. What place is this in? The tens, good. What place is this? The 1. The hundreds, yes. And then we have our comma that is karate chops it. And then we know that after the comma comes all the thousands. Okay? Now don't get them mixed up. Remember our pattern. First we have the plain old thousands place. Then it goes up a little bit bigger to 10,000s place. And then it goes to the 100,000s place. It's good to think 100 is bigger than 10. And 10 is bigger than plain old 1,000, right? Would you rather have $100,000 or $1,000? 100,000, that's because it's bigger. Would you rather have $10,000 or 100,000? 100,000, that's because 100,000 is the biggest place. It's the big kahuna. So you need to remember, 100,000s is the biggest place. 10,000s comes right in the middle between thousands and 100,000s. And then thousands is just plain old thousands right beside the comma. Okay? So that is our first lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And you guys are going to go do an assignment about place value right after watching this. Bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.